Recent poisoning of a retired Russian spy in the UK threatens a suspension in diplomatic ties between London and Moscow. One America's Kristian Rouz has this report.
Diplomatic relations between the United Kingdom and Russia are under threat of suspension amid an unraveling spy scandal. Her Majesty's cabinet is demanding Russia provide explanation for the poisoning of former Russian foreign intelligence agent Sergei Skripal in the English town of Salisbury earlier this month. British officials believe it's highly likely Russia is behind the incident.
It is now clear that Mr. Skripal and his daughter were poisoned with a military-grade nerve agent of a type developed by Russia. Russia's record of conducting state-sponsored assassinations and our assessment that Russia views some defectors as legitimate targets for assassinations, the government has concluded that it is highly likely that Russia was responsible for the act against Sergei and Yulia Skripal.
The British investigation is focusing on the possible motives behind the small-scale chemical attack against Skripal, which jeopardized public safety, while the former spy and his 33-year-old daughter remain in critical condition. Despite the incident drawing parallels with another highly publicized poisoning of former Russian official Alexander Litvinenko back in 2006, Skripal is an entirely different story.
We are in a kingdom, we are under protection of Queen. You know, of course it was a joke, but it was like some kind of good fair tale. After what happened to Sasha, and particularly what happened now after Skripal, it's very difficult. And I don't need to think just about my safeties. We need to think about safeties, all of us.
Skripal worked for Russia's foreign intelligence agency known as GRU in Madrid, where he was allegedly recruited by the British intelligence MI6, according to documents related to a treason case against him and Russia. Skripal returned to Moscow the following year and retired in 1999 at the age of 48. He was arrested by Russian authorities in 2004 and convicted of treason 2 years later for allegedly exposing over 300 Russian agents abroad. In 2010, he was pardoned by Russian President Dmitry Medvedev and included as part of a spy exchange between Russia and the UK, after which he, along with his wife, son and daughter, settled in Salisbury.
You need to understand, he's a former spy and he's a traitor. If they wanted him dead, they would have killed him in Russia a long time ago. If you need to get rid of a person when the material is done with and unnecessary, you can throw it away. They can disappear. Do you understand?
Unlike Litvinenko, Skripal hasn't been involved in political discussions and hardly voiced any criticism of the Russian government. However, the most dramatic part of his story started after he settled in the UK. Over the past 5 years, Skripal lost 3 family members as his wife died of cancer in 2012, his older brother died in 2016, and his son passed away under mysterious circumstances last year during a brief trip to Russia. Meanwhile, last week's poisoning incident happened just days after his daughter Julia returned from a trip to Russia.
This afternoon, my Right Honourable friend, the Foreign Secretary, has summoned the Russian ambassador to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and asked him to explain which of these 2 possibilities it is, and therefore to account for how this Russian-produced nerve agent could have been deployed in Salisbury against Mr. Skripal and his daughter.
These developments put into question Skripal's recent work in the UK, where he taught at MI6 Academy and provided instruction to the British intelligence services, as well as possible ties between his children and Russia and the purpose of their visits to their old country. While Russian authorities have firmly denied the accusations, dismissing them as conspiracy theories, British policymakers appear to be divided over the matter.
Mr. Speaker, we need to continue seeking a robust dialogue with Russia on all the issues currently dividing our countries, both domestic and international, rather than simply cutting off contact and letting the tensions and divisions get worse and potentially even more dangerous.
If there were to be an involvement of a foreign state evidenced by this investigation, then obviously that would be very serious indeed, and the government would respond appropriately.
As the investigation into the poisoning continues, some say the poisoning might deal the final deadly blow to the already cold Russian-British relations. Kristian, Rouz, One American News.
We can use your help. Call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call today.